The most historic and seminal study that's ever been done on body language is called the Moravian study. And in this study, they took a group of speakers and they asked the audience to evaluate if the speaker is credible. Do you believe the speaker? Is the speaker an authority in their field? Do you trust them? And it was based on three things: body language, tone of voice, and content. Now, which do you think was the best and biggest and most major indicator of authority? Was it content, which most of us think? Was it our tone of voice, or was it body language? Actually, it's really surprising. 55% of the audience's perception of a speaker's credibility is based on body language. This means I believe you, I trust you, you're an authority in your field, based on how you move and your nonverbal communication. So stay tuned on Moxie Talk. We're going to talk about all the ways that you can avoid the 7 deadly sins of nonverbal communication. And if you're wondering what the other percentages were, it's 38% of the speaker's credibility was based on tone of voice and only 7% on content. Stay tuned on Moxie Talk. Hey everyone, I'm Fia Fasbinder. Welcome to Moxie Talk, where we help you find your voice, share your message, and lead with confidence. Today, we're talking about nonverbal communication. And the way I'm going to address this is by giving you the 7 deadly sins of nonverbal communication. So I'm going to act these sins out for you. And don't worry, I'm not going to stop there. I will give you a solution also. The first deadly sin of body language, this drives me crazy. We don't see this as much in the virtual world, but eventually we will get back to in-person presentations. And this is what I call spider feet. Because if you think of a spider's feet going deet, 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 how many people have we seen that do this? They're just kind of moving. They're not paying any attention. Their body language is all over the place. And instead of listening to the speaker, you want to just tell them to stand still, right? So this is what I call spider feet, and there's a really easy fix for it. The first is to ground yourself. Imagine that you have tree roots growing from the soles of your shoes into the ground. I have actually been known to duct tape speakers' feet to the floor. If you're not sure if you're doing spider feet and you need another way to test it, you can crinkle up newspaper and stand on that while you're preparing, and you will hear your spider feet. So you want to make sure that you ground yourself, right? Really ground yourself. Make sure that you're really rooted into the floor. And the other added benefit of doing this is studies have shown that when we ground ourselves, we actually release testosterone, which is our power hormone for every single person. We feel more powerful, we feel more grounded, and we can present without this wishy-washy body movement. So that's deadly sin and the fix it for number 1. Number 2 is what I call swaying, right? Like the speakers on a boat. And if you keep watching them sway like this, you're gonna maybe vomit, right? This is even worse in the virtual world, right? It's even more distracting. Most speakers aren't aware they're doing this. And the first step to changing any behavior is awareness. So if you're not sure if you're swaying, start a quick Zoom recording or a WebEx recording and watch it back, and you'll see if you're swaying, right? And again, the simple tip, just awareness is the first step. If you are swaying, make a conscious effort to stand still, right? What will help you is to imagine all that energy that you were using when you're swaying, going out of your mouth, going into your words, into your audience, right? Into your hands, into your facial expression. So a lot of people feel less stiff when they can get all that expression out with their words and their eyes and their hands, and avoid the swaying on the boat, right? Tip number 2. Number 3 is anything repetitive. The swaying was repetitive, but I see speakers all the time that do repetitive motions like twirling their hair. Men oftentimes play with their wedding rings. I've been known to take off wedding rings and watches and anything that you could move over and over and over, right? Another unconscious habit that you're not even aware you're doing, but your audience will spend the entire time, instead of listening to your powerful message, watching you twirl your wedding ring back and forth and wondering when you're going to stop. And if you're a hair twirler, even worse, because this really undermines your authority. So if you can't stop twirling your hair or playing with your hair as a woman, wear it back. Just simple, wear it back, and then you won't be able to play with it, right? If you know that you're playing with your wedding rings, take them off. If you're going to play with your watch, take it off, right? Avoid and eliminate anything that is going to be repetitive and distract from your message. So the next tip has to do with eye contact. Now, avoiding eye contact is something that drives people crazy, right? Everybody wants to have a connection with the speaker. And if you spend the entire presentation like this, then they can't connect with you. Now, when I'm coaching clients to connect with their eyes in a stage, like a TED Talk, we talk about connecting with the different parts of the stage, right? Have you ever been to a concert and you feel like that singer's singing right to you, they're singing to you, they're singing about you, and there's thousands of people there? That's because they're looking to that part of the room. Now, in the virtual world, obviously most of us are not making eye contact in person, but it's important that you make eye contact with the camera on your computer, which feels to people on the other side of that screen like you're making eye contact with them. A really easy way to do this is to move the squares of the people's faces right under your camera. It automatically kind of goes to the side, and we see people all the time kind of going like this. And it appears to us that they're shifty. They have shifty eyes. Really, they're just looking at where your faces are. So move those faces right underneath the camera. And if you're using dual monitors, make sure that the faces are on the monitor with the camera, right? You don't want to spend your whole presentation looking down like this. You know, eye contact is like the nonverbal equivalent of saying someone's name. It's letting people know you recognize them, you see them, you're glad they're there, they're important to you. So make sure you're making eye contact. Sin number five is hand gestures. You know, the thing that I get asked the most often, other than how do I get rid of my nervous energy, is what do I do with my hands? And I always ask those people, do you have any idea what your hands are doing in everyday life? And they always say, I have no idea. That's right, because they're just natural extensions of your body. You're communicating both with your voice and with your hands. But when we get nervous, we get awkward and we get really self-conscious of our hands. And then we start to do all these weird hand gestures like this one, which I call the Barney. Like if anyone remembers the purple dinosaur that went like this all the time. Or our hands start to shake, anything like that. So the biggest tip to avoid any kind of strange hand gestures and hand movement is just to take some deep breaths, relax, and focus all of your energy out onto your audience. Because if you're paying attention to where your hands are and what your hands are doing, your energy is going the wrong way. It's going inward. You're thinking about yourself, and where you should be in a presentation is outward, thinking about the audience. So really make a conscious effort to start looking at people, gauge their facial expressions. Are they resonating with your message? Are they paying attention? Ask a question. Make sure that you switch your energy from inward to outward. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to give you a little hack. I hate hacks. I don't have a lot of them, but here's a good one. Start your presentation holding on to something that would make sense and won't give it away to the audience, like a clicker, or if you're drawing on the whiteboard, a whiteboard marker, or a cup of coffee. But be careful, because if your hands shake, you'll spill it on yourself. Use something that can, be your presentation whoopee until you are calm enough to put it down and use some natural hand gestures. So that's number 5. Sin number 6 is making our bodies small. You know, we have this tendency when we get nervous in presentations to do this, or this one where your hands are in front of your crotch. I call this the fig leaf. All of this energy making ourselves small, we're actually unconsciously trying to hide our bodies from being attacked by a predator. It is an ancient response to a threat reaction. And your brain, your amygdala, your lizard brain, does not know the difference between fear of giving a presentation and fear of being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. It just knows fear. And when it feels fear, it feels a threat, it goes into fight or flight. And one of the things we do to flee is make our bodies small. So we want to make sure we don't give our presentation like this, because obviously we look nervous and this will undermine your executive presence. So what is the antidote to getting small? Get big. Maximize the space your body takes up in a room. You know, if you ever want an example of this, watch a TED Talk by Amy Cuddy called Your Body Language Shapes Who You Are. It's a phenomenal TED Talk. She did a social study on body language by having a group of participants do a power pose every day for 2 minutes. And then she studied them. The group that did the power pose was phenomenally more confident. There is a direct connection between powerful body language and feeling powerful. And if you feel powerful, you're going to look powerful. And if you look powerful, your audience is going to think you're powerful. So really make sure that you're opening, right? This is really difficult when you're nervous. I know it's going to be really hard when you're nervous. Everything in your body is going to want to go small like this, but I'm just going to encourage you to open out. Another technique, if this is really difficult for you, is to think like an actor. When actors are playing a character, they emulate the body language of that character. If I'm going to play a character that's confident, what am I going to do? I'm going to go out and I'm going to watch confident people. And then I'm going to move like confident people. So I am playing a confident character. So if this feels so unnatural to you to get big because this is just not how you move, become an actor. Emulate the body language of somebody that's confident until you start feeling confident. And you will, I guarantee it. Sin number 7, we're all the way to the 7th, is no facial expression and no smile. Now, a lot of people do this and they don't even realize they're doing this. I know I'm going monotone with my voice too. It's like impossible for my face to go flat and not have a flat voice. But a lot of people do this because they're lost in thought. They're not even aware of what their facial expressions are doing. But the problem with that is that we mirror facial expression. So if your face goes flat, your audience thinks, oh, she must be disengaged. She must be nervous. She must not want to be here. So I'm going to feel that way too. But if you smile, if you use expression in your face, they will mirror that behavior too. And the other great benefit to smiling is when you smile at an audience and the audience smiles back at you, our brains release dopamine, which is our feel-good hormone, and oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone that babies and mothers release. So this is a great reason to smile. And you can smile at the camera too when you're doing virtual. This is not something that happens just in the real in-person world. This works in virtual too. So get that good smile going. Make sure that you're making your audience release all that good dopamine. And if you're not sure if you're smiling, record yourself. Start a Zoom meeting or a WebEx meeting and watch yourself back. You will see instantly if you're not smiling. But please, 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 people, do not rehearse in front of a mirror. Whoever came up with that idea, it's awful, awful, awful. You're just going to make yourself so self-conscious that you're not going to be able to do anything, you know? And talk about focusing your energy inward. If you're watching stuff in the mirror, all you're doing is thinking about what you're doing. So if you want to know if you're doing any of these sins, do not practice in the mirror. Start a recording and then play it back afterwards. It's the best way to get feedback on yourself. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like it, Make sure to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to watch some of our other videos. We've got a lot of them, and I'll see you next week on Moxie Talk.